My face currently feels like I've been run through by Tom Stewart.
Puts it to the top of the square. Oh, beautiful little fist in there by Dale. Crucial centimetre moments.
He definitely has a bit of the Belcho spirit. As I have a bit of the Belcho spirit.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast that this week was booed from the ground after our face appeared on the big screen. Not because we did anything wrong, we're just rather unpleasant to look at. This is the Back Pocket Podcast. My name is Jack and I'm joined, as always, by Brody Kemp superfan, Alistair. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Welcome to the Back Pocket, where we are Brody Kemp superfans, apparently.
Yeah, well you are. His beard especially.
Yeah, it's nice.
No, it's a good look.
It's a good look.
He didn't look like a guy who would suit a beard until he grew it.
Yeah, but
like,
now that he's grown a
okay.
beard, I've noticed how thinning his hair is on top.
Yeah, you have to do the...
It's a 50-50
when your hair goes on the top, you have to grow the beard out. It's just the rules. This week we learned maybe he isn't Kenough, as GWS suggested. They weren't happy. It's the first time I've seen a crowd boo. The time people are referencing was like 30 years ago, Collingwood booing Lee Matthews. So like living memory, recent memory, living memory.
Same.
Recent memory hasn't happened. Crazy.
It is interesting because, and we normally jump into the votes on this, but it's you've seen players booed off before after an insipid performance, but you don't often see the coach booed, and that was something else.
It was crazy. But yeah, all right, let's jump into the votes.
Sure. It's a special round. How do we do the votes?
Well, we give normally 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but this is the last week of 3, 2, 1 for defenders based on vibes and defensive acts. So let's rock and roll.
So I go with my 1.
Your 1.
I've just written down in big capital letters, Chombo.
Oh, okay. I liked Chombo. He was good.
It's the Wombo Chombo, Charlie Combin. I've got him down.
Himself an extension for that one?
Did he?
Yeah.
I've not been paying attention to much news. 15 disposals, 10 kicks, 6 marks, went at 93%, 12 intercepts, and 11 1%ers. I didn't look up how many were spoils because I was on my phone at the time, but I thought he played really well. He looks the goods for them down back, which is crazy because I was assured he was going to be a ruckman. So, good.
He's done a really good job since coming in. Like he genuinely looks like a defender. Like he moves around the right way, he intercepts well, he spoils well.
It's nice to see him on the park as well, which is good. So, 1 vote, Chombin.
Sweet. My 1 vote was to your not 1 vote, Jaden Laverde.
Yep. Special mention for mine.
I did think he was really good. Did I not write down stats? I think I wrote them down and they've gone somewhere.
Oh, Jack.
That's crazy.
Very unlike you. I can tell you one of his stats, which is why he didn't make my...
Yeah. What was the one of
He
his stats?
lost 3 of his 5 contested one-on-ones.
I did see he struggled in the one-on-ones.
Watching him at the game, the eye test, he was getting a lot of the ball and rebounding well. But I think he is one that can be tested defensively. So that is why he didn't make my votes, but he is written down right here in my special mentions.
It's all right, I'll get him up now. Wow, this is so unlike me.
Yeah, this is unprofessional.
I mostly thought there were some moments where he was involved in contests and steps across the front that were good. Let's just move on from his votes. Anyway, he was good. They could have lost that game. When that throw came through, probably a turning moment in the game.
I don't think there were any chance of losing, but it was going to be tighter.
He did have 28 touches. He had 11 marks, which is a big one in that back line. And he was good. So who was your 2?
My 2 votes is to the Lizard.
The Lizard? Blakey. He was in my special mentions.
1 vote, Chombo. 2 votes, Lizard. I don't have a nickname for my 3.
Don't have a nickname for your 3. All right. Nick the Lizard Blakey, do you have his numbers? Because I didn't have him in my vote, so I don't have his numbers.
Yeah, 22 disposals, 16 kicks, 4 marks, 10 intercepts, 651 metres gained, 2 inside 50s, 7 rebound 50s, 2 score involvements, and 8 1%ers. It's a reasonable game from a reasonable player.
Yep. And once again, Sydney took 1 quarter to blow a team out of the game.
Yep.
And for the rest of the game, it was pretty close.
Yep.
My 2 votes this week was to Nick Newman.
Okay.
Mostly because I thought when it looked like Geelong were actually coming back, he was awesome. He was fast and he was putting a lot of pressure and he was being a prick.
Moves well for a, 31-year-old?
I was laughing about how, despite being frustrated and devastated, there was one moment where he was just being a dickhead and I, half laughed and, affectionately called him a fuckhead. If you've listened to more than 2 or 3 episodes of this podcast, you know I'm a big Nick Newman guy. He only had 19, which is pretty low for him, but I thought what he did with it was pretty important. He had 4 tackles as well, which was a big part of his game that's not normally a massive part. Played a really high half-back role. And then banged home a goal, which was pretty spectacular too. But Nick Newman, 2 votes. Is mine?
My 3 votes.
Your 3 votes.
Tom Barrass.
Tom Barrass, my 3 votes.
Yeah, I don't have a nickname for him.
Big Tom.
I was going to say something bad.
He's backline Hawkins. He has no back, but he's still maybe the best fullback in the game.
He's such a thick-looking man.
Yeah.
Rumours are that apparently the Bulldogs are trying to pry him out.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's almost like they've got a WA-based key defender in the VFL.
Straight swap.
Really well.
Eagles be happy with that. Maybe.
I still know bustling it this week is crazy to me, but that's a totally different story.
Tom Barrass had... Do you even have your stats?
No.
Oh my God. 16 disposals, 11 kicks, 12 intercepts from 11 marks with 9 intercept marks, which is awesome. Did not lose a contested 1-on-1. Also throw in 4 spoils for good luck. And it was pretty good.
His last quarter especially, I thought was huge. Essendon looked like they were going to run over West Coast and he just kept taking intercept mark after intercept mark. So
can't believe I'm the professional one.
Yeah, you did it this week. It's crazy. And my main special mention was Harris Andrews, who I thought was awesome. Again, but they dominated Port so badly that
I have hard for him a handful. Is 3 a handful? You can get 3 in your hand. I got, Laverty I already mentioned.
Blakey and Chom were my special mentions as well.
Alex Pearce looked really good before injuring himself.
He did, didn't he?
So can't get a vote because he didn't play out the game and probably wasn't influential enough, but he did look really good. Charlie Ballard is good. I think it's even in the loss.
Fair to say, Gold Coast came back into that game after Pearce went off injured. So.
Yeah, that's true. But also, it's going to be an interesting one with Luke Ryan. Does he have to defend this week, or are they going to make Draper? Yeah, okay. And Jacob Wiedering. It's hard to give him votes when he just monsters.
Special mention not
Hawkins
because he was good
every time,
but special mention because what a defender's game from Hugh Davies.
What was that one?
0 fantasy points.
He gave away 3 free kicks?
Yeah. Anyway, he was great. He he had, when I was doing those fantasy to player ratings numbers, he had the best player ratings to fantasy ratio in the comp because it was infinite. All right, quick thoughts on the weekend's games.
I'm surprised you didn't give him your 1 vote. You like being weird.
He had 2 1-on-1s and lost them both. Starting with Carlton Geelong.
I thought it was a good game to watch.
Yeah, I bet you did. I wrote here Scott outcoached and then maybe outcoached himself.
He did. He outcoached himself. We were saying it on the night.
Ruck didn't change the ruck, and then while they genuinely came back into the game in the third, I've got more to talk about this later.
We'll talk about that later.
Move Stewart out. It was quick thoughts. Port versus Brisbane.
Port.
Oh, a little bit funny.
A little funny. I kind of do feel a little bit bad for Ken. If I got booed off the ground, I would just walk.
It's kind of brutal. He took that job when literally no one wanted it.
Yeah.
And took them to a fair few prelims.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I think that it is time for them to part ways, but there's no real advantage in doing it now versus the end of the year.
Nope. Also, I would like them to sign him for longer because it's funny.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the media is out to bat for him this week.
Yeah, they really are.
It's crazy. They're all like, oh, but look at his record. It's just it's like Hardwick without the dynasty. It's because it's without the dynasty. I don't know what to.
Next game.
Cheetah West Sydney.
Sydney again, too good.
Sydney gonna Sydney with
Sydney gonna Sydney.
Melbourne versus North.
Actually, rewind. GWS Sydney. Don't put Tom Green behind the ball.
No,
that's the stupidest coach. That's one of the stupidest coaching decisions of the weekend. Melbourne North. Melbourne aren't going anywhere.
Nope. North almost again. Oliver's dead for the year. I think we just have to be he just needs to get a full preseason into it because I understand that Powell did a good job. Phillips did a good job last week on Dacos, but Oliver did nothing in that game.
Demolished
it was the worst game since his first year. A full game anyway since his first year. And he just doesn't have the tank. He can't get the contested ball. Brutal. Essendon West Coast.
Scoreline betrays how good West Coast were. And soaring 92 in a loss at Marvel.
Yeah.
That's good for West Coast.
It's their best away game.
Interesting to see how Essendon back it up this week. I do think, based on ins and outs, they've probably got the win, but it'll be interesting.
Right, West Coast good. Throws in plain sight bad. Freo Suns.
Did anyone watch this one?
Flag mantle has been resurrected. No, not really. Gold Coast can't win away from home.
My mate messaged me and he said, how does it feel for both of our teams to be flying? He's a Fremantle supporter, I'm a Carlton supporter, in a year where no one's beating Sydney. And I said, it's fine.
Did you say flying Fremantle? Didn't you lose to the Bulldogs by 78 points 2 weeks ago?
They're closing in on the 4.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they're around, but I wouldn't say they're flying.
Eh.
I think there are 2 teams that are
They
flying.
have the 3rd best percentage in the 8. That's outrageous.
And was the 2nd best not long ago. I think the 2 teams that I would say are flying behind Sydney right now are Carlton and Brisbane. Brisbane are in proper form. Carlton are also playing really good footy. The only blip on Carlton's radar recently has been Sydney, and Brisbane's just cruising. So, did you do pops and flops this week? Because this week I actually did do pops and flops.
You did do them?
Yeah.
Jack, you do them every week.
Sometimes I make up a couple on the spot.
I always make them up on the spot.
My pops this week were Will Phillips,
Pops
tagger of the year. It was funny because it was only a few weeks ago I was talking about, is another club going to take him? And then suddenly he's in the team and he's a tagger and he's doing it well.
He's probably not going to stay. I think he will get taken by another club. But anyway.
Pop 2, the bye rounds are over.
Yes.
Thank God. And pop 3 is that the AFL drug policy has been cleared by WADA because it's in line with all their rules, and the politician who took it to Parliament chucked a hissy and he said, well, I still don't think it's good enough and there's no transparency. Literally, WADA is one of the tight-assest and strictest groups on the planet, and if they're fine with it, then it's probably fine. The whole point of it was so that players aren't breaching WADA. Anyway, it's been cleared as fine. I think the recommendation was that they do a veiled summary at the end of the year, so not clubs or player names, just total list of AFL players throughout the year who were tested positive under the scheme.
So what is the telltale sign of a player being left out of a game for drug management?
There isn't one, is there?
Yeah, no, but it's something that I have been trying to keep an eye on, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah, who is laid out?
Is Reece Stanley injured and then playing in the VFL one? Can you play VFL on?
You still might get drug tested at the VFL though. That's happened.
Maybe.
Look at the Collingwood duo.
Who? Nah, I'm kidding. What were we talking about?
Do you have
Pops
any
and flops? No, but I have a big flop.
Yeah?
Sam De Koning in the ruck.
Yeah.
And I guess I could say Pop Tom De Koning.
I just put Scotty.
Yeah.
In general. My other flop was Ken. Just in general. My other one was 2 firsts for Rioli.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen.
It can't be true. That is an insane idea.
It's just one of those things that maybe Gold Coast are under the impression that they have so many first-round talents that they can afford to just throw it away.
You could get 2 players into the club with those 2 first-round picks rather than 1.
I don't know. Rioli's probably worth a first.
Yeah.
Yep. That's how I see it.
Maybe not 2 firsts. Or maybe a first and a second even. I think 2 firsts is overkill for Rioli.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless they're getting... they can't get a first back. Richmond doesn't have one.
They'll have 2.
Anyway.
He's 27.
Yeah.
So probably at least 5 years, if not more. It's a lot for a half-back flanker. But in saying that, half-back flanker, that's good, can change your side. So,
who would win? It's been a while.
What's that? Is that a segment that we used to do?
2021 Melbourne or 2024 Sydney?
Oh, I think I would have to go 2024 Sydney.
I think it is just.
Yeah.
2021 Melbourne were terrifying.
I think the issue I have with this one here is they both have mediocre tall forwards.
Yes.
I think that Melbourne's key defence 2021 is better than Sydney's key defence 2024.
But I think Sydney's tall forwards are better than Melbourne's were.
Yes, but it's such an interesting who gets the most value. Is it Brayshaw, Petrarca, Oliver kicking goals, or is it going to be Heaney, Gould, and Warner? It's probably the latter, and that's probably where it would be won.
Yeah.
So that's why I think I lean towards 2024 Sydney, which is so worrying for the flag. But yeah, I think I would have to choose that.
If it was played at the venue of the 2024 Grand Final, I'm leaning 2021 Melbourne. If it was played at the venue of the 2021 Grand Final, I'm leaning 2024 Sydney.
That's such a confusing sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just played in Tassie.
Played in Tassie. Get the new stadium built. I saw some tweet about the State of Origin being on yesterday.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Getting 90,000
my mum
people
messaged me today and said, "Oh, congratulations to Carlton on the win." And I'm like, wrong Blues, Mum. Wrong Blues.
And someone was like, "Oh, how good is it that you have a game like this and 90,000 people show up? Just build it and they will come. Why doesn't every state have one?" It's like, 1, 90,000 seat stadiums cost so much money. Also, 2, have you seen rugby numbers at grounds with 50,000 seats? Because they're like 10,000 people are showing up. Which leads into one of my notes I had this week. There was a segment on Dwayne Russell's SEN show this week
Oh, are you talking about the pigeon?
The poop?
Yeah, the poop.
That's because the reason that North fans were complaining about it is because the stadium was three-quarters empty. Like, of course the Seagulls were there. I did like the guy who said drop a whole truckload of chips at Punt Road.
Was that call fake?
Maybe.
She sounded like she was genuinely distressed. But
Genuinely, I do believe that there would have been a lot of Seagulls there.
There were.
However, I don't know if there would have been 15 family members in a row being shat on.
I don't think there would be 15 North supporters.
Oh, maybe it was the kangaroo people around the table. You know?
Someone showed the footage of it while that was being talked about.
Anyway, my first thing I wanted to bring up was the Gold Coast record being like, at this point now, genuinely insane. They've played 7 home and 7 away. They've won all 7 at home. They have a percentage of 158.2. They've lost all 7 away and have a percentage of 67.3. Their average score at home is 108 to 68, and their average score away is 63 to 94. They are 11 goals for worse away from home.
Really interesting test this week.
Two in a row, actually. They got Collingwood at home, and then they got North away.
You'd think this is where the record reverses. They lose one up north and they win one here.
But last year they did lose
Huge
to North.
if they win both.
Last year they did lose to North away.
North have been in good form.
And they weren't last year, and they lost to them then.
No.
So, rip Harley Reid at North. The rest of the season, they've actually kind of got a bit of a flipped script to what they had before. So they've got Pies, Port, Brisbane and Melbourne at home. Not that Port and Melbourne are in great form, but they're better teams than they've been playing up there. And away they've got North, GWS obviously harder, but West Coast, Essendon obviously harder, and Richmond. So North, West Coast and Richmond as away games, which they would definitely be winning at home, versus Pies and Brisbane at home, which less chance of them winning.
It'll be interesting. We'll see, what Dimmer can pull out of his pipe.
Yeah. But yeah, good old Dimmer. I was going to go back to that Scott thing that I brought up before.
Yeah, go for it. Have a rant.
First 3 quarters, Tom Stewart had 15 disposals, 5 intercepts, 7 spoils, 7 rebound 50s, and 1 is 2 1-on-1s, had 13 defensive half pressure acts, was top 3 on the ground at the time for all 3 of those but disposals, top on the ground for a couple. Geelong kicked the last 3 goals of the third quarter, 4 of the last 5 goals. It was down to 4 goals, just under 4 goals at 3-quarter time?
It was 20-something.
23 I think it was, 24?
25, yeah.
And then Scott goes, I know what we'll do. We'll put him forward. Not Jack Henry, who's gone forward and won games before. Tom Stewart, the person stopping the ball from going into the back line, while Geelong's back line has been statistically the worst in the comp for the last 5 weeks. Carlton then kicked 9 goals in the last quarter. They ended up adding 40 points to the margin. What a strange, like an all-time bizarre decision from Scott. I still... It's baffling. I don't think he touched the ball in the last quarter, Stuart. I think he had a single touch.
After being moved up forward and then just...
Yeah. It was...
So, I wanted to say Alex Chincotta had kicked his second goal before he was moved forward. It was a weird game from Chris Scott. I've never seen him... Like, there's always that moment in Geelong games I've watched over the years where he pulls the finger out and he goes, all right, no, we're going to play this properly now. The kick mark's gone and it's rush it forward.
It just never happened. Like, De Koning stayed in the ruck.
And there were some moments where he did look all right in the ruck. So, not besmirching that at all, but his opponent had the best rated game of the season.
That was the problem. Like, his game in isolation was fine. What he let his opponent do, especially when he got out-muscled in ruck contests, not in the middle where it was pretty much even, but around the ground when his brother was just throwing him around like a rag doll. It was just a case of, like, just put Blixards in the ruck or anything. Like, it just could not keep happening the way it was, and it did. So, like we said, it's the best rated game of the year.
I feel like Chris Scott thought it would rattle Tom De Koning, and I feel like after it didn't work in the first 10 minutes, it should have been swapped.
Absolutely. Blixards should have just gone into the ruck.
And then maybe if you have to, put Mark O'Connor on Cripps, but I don't know about that tag. But it was very strange. Tom Stewart up forward was weird. Obviously, Hawkins going down after the sub being made wasn't ideal, but...
The moment Hawkins went down too, like when Geelong were heading inside 50 to kick it to him, was a big moment. But I don't think Geelong were winning that game regardless. It was just, there were a few moments where just changes were poorly made, which was very unlike Scott.
Hopefully it's not the new norm.
I mean, what a strange turnaround from the last time they played Carlton, which was a genuinely cracking game of football where Geelong seemed like they were in charge all day, but it was high-paced and fast, whereas this game was messy from both sides. I thought the umpiring either way was terrible. And Carlton were just clearly the better team. It was just such a totally different game of football to the last time we saw them play. So, who knows? This weekend's games. What's your game of the week?
This is a real sigh of depression there, Jack.
It's all right. Lawson Humphries is in. That's all we've wanted for weeks.
Is it weird if I say Adelaide GWS? Because that's what I've been leaning towards.
I think it's a really interesting
It's the hardest one for me to pick.
Like GWS have been so flaky form-wise.
I think as far as narrative goes, is Port St Kilda one of the more interesting games of the round?
I've written Docklands again.
I don't want to watch it.
How have I done that?
Maybe it's autocorrect. Stop writing Docklands. Just write Etihad. That's what it's called.
Colonial.
Was it ever called People First, or did I make that up?
People First is Gold Coast.
Is that what that place is called?
Yeah.
That's why I read it. It was on my screen.
Heritage Bank Arena. That's just Carrara. I think obviously John Essendon is big for both of those teams' seasons. Huge, even. But I think St Kilda Port is the most interesting game for the week.
Doesn't mean it'll be a good watch.
No, it doesn't. But
probably Sydney Freo.
Huge narrative-wise for Port. They have to come out firing. Like, the players have all come out so heavily. And look, you can see that Ken is a good people coach. Like, you can see the players love him. But that doesn't mean the results are there. But if the players are ever going to get up for him, it has to be this week.
Has to be. But that's why I tipped him last week.
Yeah, well, I didn't.
I know you didn't.
You'd be on the top with me. You'd be up there with me if you'd just done those 2 tips I told you not to do.
It's all right. I'll make it back this week. I'm tipping some upsets.
The next couple of weeks of tipping is mental. Like, that patch from Gold Coast, Collingwood, Adelaide, GWS, Geelong, Essendon, St Kilda, Port is a nightmare this week.
Yep.
And there's a similar patch next week that I was just looking at. I was like, this is nightmare fuel. I have no idea what's going on the next few weeks of tipping. So,
Hawthorn at GMHBA.
Yeah, it's like Port, Bulldogs in Adelaide, Geelong, Hawthorn, GWS, Carlton. Impossible games to tip right now.
Tough.
Bulldogs, Brisbane.
Fuck, even Melbourne, West Coast at the MCG is tough.
A horrible couple of weeks of tipping. It will make or break people's seasons. What's really funny is I'm in a tipping group with a bunch of people who do log rad stuff. I'm in a tipping group with the Champion Data team. I'm in a work tipping group. The work tipping group is like the person on top is doing far better than anyone in a actual football-related tipping group, which once again reaffirms the fact that the less you know, the better you will do at tipping. I wonder if there's it'd be really funny to see the difference that people who support Carlton and Essendon are doing in their tipping this
much
year
better this
versus
year.
like normal, like if they're people who tip their own team every week, or even people that tip their team when it's just 50-50, how much better they'll be doing this season to just the last 10 years.
Yeah, the only problem is people are picking up on it. So my advantage of being 10-4 in that is now diminishing because people are tipping the same as me. I get really annoyed when I opened the app and everyone had tipped Carlton and no one had tipped Geelong. I was like, I think it was Scott tipped Geelong because he's a fucking idiot. And I was like, this is disappointing.
I was shocked everyone tipped Freo. Like the Gold Coast away curse is clearly that bad that just no one tipped them. I was going to say, I did find it funny, a bunch of people posting about that the whole time Assange has been in prison. Essendon are one of only 2 teams to have not won a final.
And Gold Coast is the other one?
Yeah.
I was like, why are you bringing up Julian Assange on the podcast?
Yeah,
this is weird.
It was 14 years he was in prison. Essendon didn't manage to win a final the whole time he was in there. Even St Kilda managed one.
Maybe he's their good luck charm.
I don't think so. I think he's a rugby man anyway.
I forgot what I was going to say. I'm excited for more games on, just because weekends can get so boring when I'm sitting there doing nothing. But I'm also disappointed that I have to watch 9 games of football again. So it's a double-edged sword. At least there's no Thursday games.
At least there's no Thursday games. People are so sad about it.
I'm so violently against it.
The weird dichotomy of, it's like anywhere on the internet. It doesn't matter where you're, like Facebook, Twitter, even Big Footy. The whole time there were Thursday night games on, all I read was people being like, I'm fucking so sick of Thursday night games. And now they're over, all I see is people being like, oh, where's Thursday night football gone?
Well,
so clearly people only talk when they're mad.
Everyone's favourite AFL executive, Laura Kane, has confirmed there's going to be Thursday night footy.
She's going to be CEO next year, I reckon.
Every week next year. So At least that'll give me something to do Thursday nights, but I won't be happy about it. Because
Well,
Thursday night footy has, historically this year, been bad.
It feels like I'm being blue-balled by the weekend. Like when football starts, it's the weekend. You give me football on Thursday, it's not the weekend yet.
Yeah.
And I've got to go to work the next day. Sometimes after my team's lost. That's sad.
He's not used to it, folks. He's not used to losing.
The last time my team was this bad, I was like 11.
How you poor thing.
I know.
You poor
I make
thing.
jokes about that a lot. Especially at Geelong fans, because it's like the ones who I've enjoyed for the most part. The ones that I see on the internet, I've just been making jokes about Geelong being bad. Like, that's fun. But the ones that I see that are, like, genuinely pissed off about it, it's like, lads, it's been a good ride. Like, we're allowed to be bad for a little bit. Especially when it's, like, only kind of bad. Like, they're 8 and 6.
They're still in the top 8.
It could be significantly worse than 8 and 6.
I think I read the stat the other day that there's no team that's ever started 7-0 in the
And missed finals.
and in this era and missed finals. So
If they lose this week, it's a good chance it's going to be there.
it's
run
it's
home
possible.
is good. Like the end, like the last 5 or so weeks is fine, but it's this next patch again that's tough. I think Essendon, Collingwood, Hawthorn, all in there is brutal.
Hawthorn
patch.
while they're in form, but hey, that could drop off.
Bulldogs look good at the moment as well, but
You never know.
I saw a North fan referring to the Bulldogs as their bogey side, and I laughed.
Every
'cause I was
club
like,
is your
everyone's their
bogey.
bogey side, but then I remember that the Bulldogs beat them by like 100 points every time instead of 50.
Yeah.
So like maybe that's what counts as a bogey side for North.
Maybe.
But I think they haven't beaten Geelong or Port in like 12 years.
Yeah, there's some that are embarrassing.
So, like-
surely it's not that long.
I think it might be.
No way. During the like peak, we're going to reach a prelim Brad Scott phase.
Yeah, it might be 12 games in a row, but I think it's 12 years because it wouldn't be that often that Geelong North would have played each other twice in a year.
I'm looking up the
Did they do it
history.
this
I'm
year?
looking up the history
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, okay. Well, now I've got to carry it while you're phone stuffing.
I'm already on it.
All right.
Finalsiren.com.
I love Final Siren. How are we?
2015.
Is that North winning?
North won 122-79 at Etihad.
So that's 9 years.
Round
So
15.
there must have been 12 games then in that time. It's a long stretch.
I thought you said 12 years.
I thought it was too, but I must
Yeah.
have misread it as 12 games.
Um,
So either way, it's
oh, they're playing in Tassie this year.
oh, there you go. Here's the hot goss. Apparently,
What's the hot goss? Luke
people were
Davies
expecting
Uniac.
Reece Stanley to be a late in.
Well, we were expecting that last week.
But no, he got pulled out of the VFL game apparently at 3/4 time. So, who knows? Not me, because I would pick a ruck. That's all. I would pick, if I were an AFL coach, I would simply pick a ruck.
I'm just looking. North Melbourne were defeated Hawthorn in 2018,
Yeah,
round 5.
when Hawthorn had their first of their, what was that, like one of their first bad years. But now they're back.
What a
And North
fun!
is
What a
not.
fun little thing. It's got the head-to-head stats.
Head to head, so that's off.
Interesting. This is a really cool website. I'm going to play around with this while you talk.
While I talk. I mean, I'm happy to leave it there for this week. I'm so knackered. Hence why, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing the podcast on a very late on a Thursday.
I was ready to do it yesterday.
Well, you were, and then you had a nap, and then you wanted to do it when you got up.
Yeah, because I used the power nap to get myself ready for the podcast.
I didn't power nap.
And you decided to eat your sleepy medication instead.
Well, because I didn't think you were getting back up. It was like 8.
It was an hour.
It was more than an hour.
I was on my phone for a little bit.
It's like 8:30 by the time you got back up. Anyway. Oh, like Kynan Brown also stiff. I feel like that's just like I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, you can't name a debutant as the sub. I do think it's rough to name him as the sub, bring him on for the last 10 minutes of the game, he lays a match-saving tackle, and then he's dropped the next game. That feels rough.
I hated it because I brought him into my fantasy side.
Yes. Did you get him out before? Oh, you didn't.
No, because I didn't have enough money to do all my stuff. Anyway, it's annoying because, one, I hate debutants being the sub anyway. I genuinely think there should be an AFL rule against it.
There's other reasons why I hate it. Because one of my reasons why I hate it is, do you want to rely on a debutant to come in a close game at 3/4 time and win you the game?
I mean, it helped Melbourne.
Yeah, it wasn't close at that time. North North kicked all those goals in the last quarter, all 7 of them in a row.
That was when he was on
He came
the
on
ground.
halfway through that patch.
Yes, and
Yeah.
he did one tackle.
He did one tackle.
Which
It was
stopped
really
in
good.
4A inside
Yeah.
50 in
But
a game where they won
normally-
by 1 point, Jack.
But normally,
Yes,
they won by 3 points. It's Collingwood that beat them by 1.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Anyway, you cannot argue that Kynan Brown was not a fucking match-saving tackle there.
That is correct.
Anyway, yes, I agree. And I think there are so many different types of players that shouldn't be the sub. I think inside mids, I think tall forwards and ruckman should probably not be the sub.
I think you should just make one of your most utility style players, like a person who can play half forward, half back, or in the midfield if they need to. That's your sub.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, like a Cooper Simpson for Freo, or Mitch Nevitt, or like that kind of type player, like a weird put him anywhere player.
Yeah, well, I was thinking more along the lines of someone who can do
Jai Menzie,
forward back. Maybe even someone who can do a lockdown role. So I don't know. Just don't use an inside mid. That shits me to tears.
Did you see Sav's gone? Sav's out. He injured himself at training.
Did he get left out of the team?
He did. Yeah.
Who's in for him as a defender?
It's a great question. All I saw was on the Port stat sheet that I didn't even look at the ins. I just went, Sav and McIntyre out. It's about time. And then I scrolled on.
I looked at the teams briefly.
Let me have a look. Port, Adelaide, ins. It's a great question. Who is going into the back line? Is Dylan Williams a defender? Is Will Lawrence a defender?
Dylan Williams is a defender.
Right, so he's in for Sav. Dante Vicentini's back. So they're playing 2 rucks. Yeah, who knows? Jed McEntee's out for Rioli.
I think that's a good choice. Although the pressure rating from one to the other is really diminishing. So
it is, but the number of touches or goals rating is way
I think Willie Rioli,
just about their best forward this year, let alone small forward.
I think it's been something they've missed in a lot of their big losses. He was missing against Carlton. He was missing against Brisbane. Yeah. Obviously, that's not going to turn those games around.
He was the reason they beat Geelong.
They lost one of those by 40 and the other one by 70, so it's not going to be the difference. But
you go to the other ones. You go to the game. They beat Hawthorn by a point, and he kicked 4 goals. They beat Geelong by 4 points, and he kicked 5 goals. So they're not winning those games without Rioli, and that's the main thing.
And it's a shame that he has those.
That was a joke I made this week. I saw someone on the radio being like, look, Charlie Curnow's good, but until he does it in a final. And I was like, 1, he's had 1 final series in his career. 2, he kicked a goal in every final. But the joke I made was, I was like, broke. Charlie Curnow needs to kick more goals in finals. Woke. The 2 points that Charlie Curnow kicked against Melbourne was the margin.
Well, there you go.
Also, he got double teamed all final series long because Mackay was out of form. It was such
and then concussed and then out of the team.
The way Mackay is playing this year, Curnow cannot be double teamed the way he was last final series. It's just not going to be the same.
Touchwood.
If he wins 3 Colemans in a row, you don't need to play well in finals to be in the greatest forwards of all time. You've won 3 Colemans in a row.
It really does just become such a shame that he spent so many years on the sidelines because
what we could have had. But he's in. I've stopped freaking out as much when he lands weird. Yeah. Every now and then I'm sort of like, oh, but then he's just up and moving around.
I think it's going to happen for the rest
of
his
career. There was so long where I feel like last year and the year before, every time I saw it happen, I was like, oh no. You know what I mean? Whereas now it's like, he'll get up.
It's interesting. I think is he still going at an average of 3 goals a game? So if he keeps that up for the next, he's contracted to 2029, so that's 5 years.
2030 for Mackay is a made-up number. I hate it so much when I read it. And I know it's only 6 years away, but it doesn't feel right. Knock you too.
He'd kick, if he went at that average, and not even counting into finals, he would kick another 330 goals to add to his total, which is enough to put him in contention for some of the greatest modern-day AFL era forwards. That's probably a cue to end the podcast.
I had one more thing. I don't know. I know you don't pay attention to cricket at the best of times, let alone during footy season, but
it's so hard.
I saw a moment and people are being way more serious about it than they need to be, but there was the Bangladesh-Afghanistan game, which was a weird game. It was Australians watching because if Bangladesh won, but not by too much, Australia got to make it through to the semis. Bangladesh did not win, but there was one point where a wicket fell that put Afghanistan just in front on Duckworth Lewis. R.I.P. Duckworth died the day that game happened.
Rest in power, brother.
like a wicket fell and the rain was like just coming in and it put them ahead of Duckworth Lewis, and the Afghanistan coach is like waving like slow it down, like just in case the rain comes in, don't let them make any runs. And Gulbadine at first slip, while bent over hamstring relaxed, dropped like he'd been shot. Called for trainers, enough of a delay that the rain came in. I want to see someone do that on the mark in a close game of football. I want someone to be kicking to put his team in front with like a minute to go, and the man on the mark...
I think there's some players it could happen
just
to.
Goes down.
I think if you've got Adam Treloar on the mark, or Adam Chera, any of the Adams, really.
Adams, yep.
Who else is a hamstring? Oh, Jeremy Cameron would absolutely pop a standing hamstring. Who else is bad for it?
Christian Salem, who did it last week, he's out. He wasn't a tactical sub. Out injured.
Yeah. There's a couple.
Yeah. But I just love to see that like standing the mark, like the umpire's called stand. You obviously can't move. But then you just drop and you just like clutch your ankle.
What if you do the sneaky, like you stretch one way, like trying to get them to go
and
that
then
way,
fall?
and you're just like, oh.
Yeah. And like, it just causes a big break in the game and the person kicking on goal gets a little bit cold and then they take the shot. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like I
was reading something.
Because like obviously it wouldn't time waste in the same way in football because time on would just be, whatever.
Read about
like,
some country match where they stole the goalpost to stop the team kicking a winning goal. Did you read that?
That's amazing. No, I didn't read
that.
So
apparently the team got a free kick on the siren.
Yeah.
And the team that was in front were celebrating like they've won. So they've stormed the ground and they're stopping the guy from taking the kick, allegedly. Umpires are moving people out of the way so he can get a lane to the goal. They keep swarming back in. And eventually they're trying to get him to take this kick. He's still holding onto the ball for dear life, thinking he's going to kick the winning goal. And then the crowd just steals the goalpost. They unscrew them and run away with them.
Amazing.
I think it was a no result.
Unbelievable.
I don't know what podcast or TikTok I've stolen that from, but I was watching/reading it and it made me laugh.
That's a great story.
Shout out to whoever brought that up.
Was. If you are one of the very few listeners to this podcast, let us know. And we'll
we can steal as much content as we want. Bomber guy will never come for it.
I try and shout people out when I use their content.
Yeah, shout out to Ellen Brees. That's my favourite bit. I've been saying it in real life.
Yeah, you do. It's very funny because I saw Polly. Shout out Polly if you're listening to this. But she was saying, because she got shouted out by oh my god, my brain's fallen out of my head. She got shouted out on a podcast, and she was like, "Oh, Marnie Vinyl shouted her out on the footy with Brad Kelly," and she was like me when I hear my name on the podcast. And I was like, I wonder if like every now and then Emily's listening to this podcast and goes, "That's me." But if it makes you feel any better, Emlyn, we actually do it more in real life than the 4 or 5 times we've done it on the podcast.
Which is almost weirder.
Which is weirder. Because I'll just like mention a stat and Alistair will be like, shout out Emlyn Brees.
I only saw it on...
Do you know what his website's called? It's called Credit to Dubois, like Du Bois, like D-U-B. It's a great name.
It's a good one.
But they do the match life stuff. That's where I steal their stuff from.
Whoa! Thief.
Credit them. Anyway, I've actually made a reverse version of that poll. And I'm wondering
which team do you like the most?
Yeah, like which team outside of your team would you be happiest to see win?
Oh.
I feel like it's going to get less results because I was like, when someone's like, which team do you hate the most? I was like, I got numbers. And then I was like, which teams do you like the most? I was like, I can't think of 3.
All right.
It's a struggle.
Who would I be? Okay.
I have a soft spot for the Bulldogs.
I don't want to see them
previously said. So like I got a soft spot for the Doggies. I like GWS.
That'd be controversial.
Yeah.
Hawthorn?
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like I feel like 10 years ago, if you'd said that, you would have been like drawn and quartered.
Yeah.
They're just likable. They got a bit of like a rapscallion about them that I just really enjoy. I like that Sam Mitchell tells all the old blokes around the club to fuck off.
Yeah.
I like that the youngsters piss off Kane Corns types. I don't mind Hawthorn.
GWS.
Yeah, so
those are 2. I have to pick a third.
I guess. I don't have a problem with Sydney. I guess that's Freo.
It's Freo.
Yeah, I think for me it's Bulldogs, GWS, Freo. So.
For me, it's 2 teams that have 1-1 and one that makes me happy when I watch them play. So.
Hawks footy is so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like, it is just like... I was talking to Dad about it recently, and Dad was saying the same thing. Like, he, despite being a Geelong fan and for that long, can't bring himself to hate Hawthorn. And I was like, I get joy out of watching the style of football they play.
It's also, there's something in me that goes, imagine if Ginnivan became a 2-time premiership player before the Dacos brothers. That would be...
Especially if one of them was against Collingwood.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, crazy talk.
That's the end of the podcast,
That's
folks.
the end of the podcast. Forever. It's the last episode.
Not yet.
No medal this year. R.I.P. Jacob Wiedering in the lead, I believe, still.
I don't look at the votes. I just make them.
Yeah. I post them and I go, is that the votes? And I close the spreadsheet again. I forget every week what they are. And I will start updating the actual points against ladder again now the buys are over, because the last few weeks I've just not bothered what's in the
You update the fridge ladder?
Maybe. At one point, yeah.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah, Collingwood keeps going upwards. And
we have to move.
Every time they lost,
we have to move North Melbourne above Tasmania too.
Oh, rip Tasmania. Oh, they're not second last anymore. They're just not there.
I'm going to do the thing where I walk away.
Anyway, you can find us at the Back Pocket AU everywhere. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.